It is 9:10 a.m. on 10/3/2004, and I am calling the clerk of Judge Bush's chamber because yesterday she said for me to call back. That was Victoria. And hopefully I will get the response to the question that I posed yesterday, which is why I'm calling back today, and which is why Victoria told me I should call back. So let's go ahead with that. 1-202-879-0023. And hit talk. Good morning, Judge Bush's chambers. Am I speaking with Victoria Hardin, perchance? Yes. Hello, Victoria. How are you today?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. Been anxious to find out what the news is that you may possibly have to relay to me.
Well, I hadn't spoken to her this morning. I said I would talk to her this morning.
Yes.
She hasn't come in yet. She's not even in chambers right now.
Okay. May I suggest something? Just I don't know. I mean, you guys have your own systems and all that. And like I said, I'm not a lawyer. But I'm thinking that the judge was roped into this because of the environment, I guess is the best way to put it. And because Judge DeMio had not managed to meet the obligations, I guess. I don't know. But the point here is that this motion to stay or dismiss is damning. And if the judge has to make a ruling on something that's damning, where there's stuff that's still kind of left outstanding that's not being managed in terms of misbehavior, so to say, it may be easier for the judge just to take a look at what's in her file and see, and then get the prosecutor up there and decide that the prosecutor needs to drop the charges. Because, as I said, if the prosecutor can't enumerate the evidence the prosecution received and is hoping that a non-lawyer psychologist will mitigate their responsibility to look at such materials, which in fact is not mitigated, because you're talking about a willful effort to, withhold evidence. Anyway, the point here is, if the judge says to the prosecution, well, look, can you enumerate this? And if you can't, why don't you drop the charges? Because that way the judge doesn't have to make a ruling on this damning motion to stay. I'm not trying to, cause more problems for everybody who gets roped into these problems. I've got enough problems getting the big wigs to acknowledge the prior bad acts, is what you call it in law. And if you want to call it that, you can also call it impeachment evidence, or you can call it theft by extortion under color of law. But whatever it is, that's what happened before. It's clear that it happened before. The documents I gave to the court in raw material fashion are all authenticable. And the poster that I gave to the defense lawyer Hunter and to the prosecutor, and that's all on transcript, are ordered, not raw data, but it's ordered data on a poster. And it shows a motion to suppress evidence saying I was seized illegally and government got property. And it shows anti-graft laws that say if government gets property, I'm entitled to a hearing. None of that happened. Instead, I've got people who lied in court and are doing the very same thing that's going on now in 2005. And I've got it documented to a fare thee well, inclusive of lies, for competency hearings, and on and on and on. So my stuff is solid. It's that other people have not wanted to look at it. And if it's come to the point where they didn't manage to railroad me and still haven't managed to railroad me, and now I've got to get this evidence again formally into the appeals court, and they're going to have a terrible time with it too, because we're talking about government misbehavior in very serious fashion. And now we're talking about misdemeanors where there's been perjury by the psychologist. She cannot back her statements under cross-examination. There's no way. I've got her on tape, and I've got on tape what the materials she got, and we're discussing those materials, and then she makes up this fallacy in her report, basically because the prosecution and Hunter, as well as Judge DeMille, did not want to look at those documents, which are public documents, which are already authenticated. So here we are, and I'm just thinking that it may be easier for the judge, for her paperwork and her honor and her standing, to get the prosecutor to drop the charges, because he can't afford not to. And bottom line, if he is refusing to look at evidence and he is prosecuting, this is withholding evidence, imparting and conveying false information, conspiracy against rights. If there's property involved, that's conspiracy and restraint of trade. We're talking, serious malfeasance. If you're talking about conspiracy against rights with reckless disregard to, the welfare, etc., and we're talking about people trying to drug and poison you through lies, because if you got to lie to drug somebody, you're trying to poison them. There's no doubt about that. And with drugs that can drop you dead, you can bring it all the way to attempted murder. And I can show that already in the paperwork from 2005. And that's attempted murder for theft by extortion. It just gets worse and worse and worse. So that's where we are. And I think that the judge needs to hold the prosecutor to task, if nothing else, for the judge's honor, so she doesn't have to make a decision on this horror motion to stay or dismiss. And it's a horror motion, but it's not my dirt. I'm presenting it so that I'm protected, and I'm also presenting it because I've got to show net worth. That's my job in the due process things in the CJA beginning. No net worth was done. Little wonder why. The lawyer Hunter was glammed on to me, despite the fact that not allowed to, because more income than he's allowed to. These are supposed to be defense lawyers for people who can't afford a defense lawyer. Well, I can show that I've got property, but it's it's in artwork or in a van, and I've got property stolen. But it's still all fungible property, and nobody wants to do net worth. I can already show that I get $600 a week, and that puts me out of the bounds for Hunter. But they didn't want me to self-represent. They wanted a lawyer to steer me to that psychiatrist. And this has been a setup all along. Now, you can agree with me or not, but the documentation really kind of shows it. And everybody's been doing their level best to prevent me from being able to controvert. I mean, how do you controvert somebody if they won't look at evidence, they won't authenticate evidence, because then it becomes a fact, and then you'd make the conclusions with the laws. But I've got that evidence sitting side by side in that poster with laws, dealing with the circumstances surrounding the instant allegations of the misdemeanors. And Hunter and the prosecutor can't enumerate what's on there because it shows authenticated documents. They can let the shrink say, oh, poo-poo, but the psychologist is not a lawyer, and I've got her on tape saying that. The lawyers are. And they can't poo-poo when they've got Rule 901 and 902, which spells out what an authenticated document is. And if the whole purpose of the court is to make a finding of each fact and conclusion of law, can't really present facts if people won't authenticate and or acknowledge and or look. It's a mess. Anyway, I will try calling back this evening, and I hope that around 5 o'clock, and I hope that the judge finds a way whereby she can lay the onus on the prosecutor. She, at the last hearing, said, are you sure you want to go ahead with this? And the prosecutor said, well, let me call my supervisor and we'll see. But everybody was having such a fun time stressing me out while ignoring judicial notice, I asked the defense lawyer for an admissions, and the judge said no. It's not like the judge doesn't really know what's going on. I like the judge, and I know she was roped in, and the defense lawyer is the one who's supposed to be ethically bound above all to protect me, and the prosecution's ethically bound above all to not prosecute when you can't, you can't do it because you've already done so much wrong. I'm desolate for Judge Bush's situation, but, she's there to make the hard decisions, too, and not look away. My dear.
Yes, sir?
You've heard me talk. I know it's comprehensive because I tape it. And I haven't wanted to put yesterday's tape up because you've been such a wonderful lady with such a nice voice and a good ear and gentle. But this has not been a gentle situation, and I can't afford the damage. So I'm just letting you guys know that I would like the charges dropped, and you guys can't really continue the prosecution, and there's a lot of cheating going on already. So I will call back later.
Okay.
And if you're friends with the judge, if I were you, I'd be barreling down the hallway, grabbing one of those young prosecutors by the scruff of the neck and saying, "Is this true? Can you enumerate on what's on that poster? And if you can't, don't you mess with my judge." All right? Anyway, you have a great day, my dear. I'll call back around 5 o'clock.
Okay.
And I'm just going to try and go to, I don't know, maybe the beach for a day or so, and then I've just got to get back to this appeals thing. I can write it up pretty darn well. And, there has been no breach of presumption of competence on my side either. I've got all the transcripts and everything I've asked for. I've got a law that shows I'm allowed to. And I can put it side by side on those transcripts. I was a graphic designer and printer and still am. You've seen some of my artwork, or the judge has in the portfolio. Some of it's damning artwork there, too, with Hunter standing in front of that poster. And I've got him on tape saying I don't want to look at laws. And I've got him on tape saying that that motion to suppress evidence signed by a lawyer named Sims is hearsay. But I've also got Sims on tape saying he told Hunter it's authentic. And that was before Hunter told me it was hearsay in the chamber just in front of your judge's court, in that little room right in front of your judge's court. I've got him on tape lying. That's the lawyer that's glammed onto me to assist me or to play a little Nazi effort on my brains, I mean, how would you expect me to look at it? Anyway, okay, that's where we are. I hope that you've absorbed all this well enough to relay it to the judge.
Yes, sir.
I apologize that I'm using every tool to show everybody that I'm informing everybody, what's going on and where the rules are, and here they are, and here are the documents to go with. You have a great day, my dear. And again, my thanks. Bye-bye.